Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in the previous session we have considered discovery of electron. Well, now in this session we are going to move on the next concept of the chapter, that is discovery of other two subatomic particles. What are those? Discovery of protons and neutrons. Okay, well, regarding the discovery of electron, we considered the discovery actually begins in the early 19th century, that is in again around 1850. In 1850 itself, Thomson conducted various experimentations, and actually in the year 1897, J.J. Thomson, he gave some basic structure for the discovery of a electron. He conducted discharge tube experimentations, and even he succeeded in identifying those negatively charged particles, and even he succeeded in calculating charge to mass ratio and mass of a negatively charged particle, that is electrons. Well, and further, that the charge of those negatively charged particles, or I can say electrons, were measured quantitatively by R.A. Millikan by conducting what? By conducting a Isle drop experiment. Okay, Isle drop experiment. So R.A. Millikan, he conducted an Isle drop experiment. With the help of that, he successfully identified the charge present on the electron. I can say charge of that negatively charged particles, that is electrons. Well, now in this session we try to understand regarding discovery of protons and neutrons. Okay, yes, we know how discovery of subatomic particle, okay, exist, means it is with the help of discharge tube experiment. Okay, what makes scientists to thought of a discovery of subatomic particle? Means yes, it is an invention of, what is that? Discharge tube experiments. Well, here the discovery of proton is also associated with the what? Discharge tube experimentation itself. The first experiment that leads to the discovery of a positively charged particle was conducted by Eugen Goldstein. Regarding these positively charged particles, discovery of positively charged particles, that is what we say, positively charged particles, later called protons. Well, earlier they are simply considered as a positively charged particles. So this discovery of these positively charged particles begin with an experiment conducted by a scientist called Eugen Goldstein. So what he thought of? So he used the basis of discovery of electron. Okay, so Eugen Goldstein used the basis for discovery of electron. Yes, how electrons are discovered? Yes, during the discovery of electron, they took a discharge tube, long cylindrical glass tube containing a side arm, right? Okay, and there will be two electrodes on either side, two metal plates or metal sheets, they are present on either side, and these metal sheets are externally connected, what? Connected to the electric supply. Okay, so what they observed, say one is connected to positive terminal, another connected to negative terminal. The one connected to positive terminal is called anode, and the metal plate which is connected to negative terminal is called cathode, right? Well, so when high electric voltage, what they observed? When high electric voltage, okay, voltage at what? At a reduced pressure, passed through what? Passed through gas taken in a discharge tube. Okay, what? How they conducted the experiment? They took a discharge tube containing two electrodes on either side, and with the help of vacuum pump they operated the pressure of a gas inside the discharge tube. So when they passed high electric voltage at reduced pressure, what happens? They identified the rays emitting from cathode. Okay, with the help of a fluorescent material, Okay, with the help of fluorescent material, they identified the existence of rays which are emitted from cathode. Later, they are called cathode rays. Okay, later they are named as cathode rays. And when they studied the properties of these cathode rays, they came to know that cathode rays consist of negatively charged particles. Later, they are named as a electron. Well, based on this experimentation, Eugen Goldstein began the discovery of that positively charged particles. Well, it was observed that when high potential difference was applied between the electrodes, so in a discharge tube, when they apply high potential difference, which means when high electric voltage is passed. So not only cathode rays, we said the rays emitted from cathode, they are named as cathode rays. But actually, not only cathode rays were produced, but also a new type of rays produced simultaneously from what? From anode. So in a discharge tube, there will be two electrodes, right? So is the one electrode, it is one more electrode. So two electrodes are present on either side. Consider. So consider it is a cathode connected to what? Which terminal? Negative terminal. And the one which is connected to positive terminal, that is anode. Okay. Thomson succeeded in identifying what? Identifying cathode rays. The rays emitted from cathode, he succeeded in identifying cathode rays. Okay. So Eugen Goldstein, he made certain modifications in this experimental setup and succeeded in identifying existence of what? A new type of rays which are emitting from what? Emitting from anode. They are named as a anode rays. Okay, Eugen Goldstein, he made certain little modifications in the electrodes actually, and when he passed high electric voltage through gas at reduced pressure, even he identified existence of anode rays, or I can say the rays which are emitted from anode and they are traveling towards cathode. Those rays are named as anode rays, or they are also called canal rays. Okay, well, so who began the discovery of these anode rays? Means it is the Eugen Goldstein. Well, so what do you mean by that? Okay, definition for those anode rays, or I can say canal rays. So we can define them as, say, when high electric voltage is passed through gas, taken in a discharge tube, at what pressure? Again, next condition is at reduced pressure. So first condition, we have to pass a high electric voltage. High means how much? Around 10,000 volt. That is 10 to 30,000 volt variable voltage. So when high electric voltage is passed through gas, taken in a discharge tube, that gas must be taken in a discharge tube at what? At reduced pressure. The pressure must be low. What happens at this condition? Some rays will be emitted from anode. The rays emitted from anode are called anode rays, or they are also called canal rays. So you got it? So what do you mean by anode rays? When high electric voltage is passed through gas taken in a discharge tube at reduced pressure, the rays emitted from anode are called anode rays, are also called canal rays. Okay, well, so later, once they discovered, what happens? This electrical discharge carried out in the modified cathode ray tube lead to the discovery of particles carrying positive charge. They are known as a anode rays, or we can say canal rays. So what I am specifying here? Modified cathode ray tube. Okay. Well, what I'm specifying here? Modified cathode ray tube. Yes, what is that modification done by Eugen Goldstein? So earlier, if you consider in the case of we look for the modifications. In the earlier, if you consider discovery of electron, a solid solid metal, okay, metal plates. Solid metal plates are used as electrodes. Are you getting? So if you consider discovery of electron, a solid metal plate is used as a electrodes. But what is modification done here in case of discovery of those positively charged particles? That is what we are saying. They used Eigen Goldstein used a modified cathode ray tube. So here, instead of using a solid metal plate, here a perforated metal plate. Perforated metal plate is used as cathode. Is the only modification. So please remember it. So in case of discovery of proton, or I can say positively charged particles, Eigen Goldstein, he made certain modifications in the discharge tube. What is that modification? Instead of using a solid metal plates as an electrode, here perforated metal plate. Perforated means what it is? Perforated means, say it is a metal plate, say it's a solid one. Perforated means, say it is a metal plate containing small holes in it. So instead of using a solid sheet, he used perforated metal sheet is used as a cathode. Okay, is the only difference, right? Well, again, he used perforated metal plate, and when he passed high electric voltage at reduced pressure, he succeeded in identifying existence of what? Existence of canal rays, or I can say anode rays. Well, so if you consider the diagram for it, say just look at the diagram as it is. Whatever the things we have considered in the discovery of electron, cathode rays, similarly same setup. Again, there will be a long cylindrical glass tube. It contains side arms, and there will be two electrodes, anode and cathode. So earlier we have used a solid metal plates as a anode and cathode, but now here we are using what? We are using a perforated cathode, and whatever the screen behind cathode is coated with what? Fluorescent material. Okay, the region behind cathode is coated with the fluorescent material. What is that fluorescent material? Zinc sulfide. So well, when they pass high electric voltage at reduced pressure through gas, what happens? Anode rays will be formed. Those anode rays, okay, pass through these holes. Anode rays pass through these holes and strike the fluorescent material, so that we observe a glow. The inner wall of a discharge tube is going to glow a light. It is because of what? It is because of only anode rays. You got it? Yes. Then if you consider characteristics of anode rays. So what are the characteristics? As like cathode rays we considered, now we have to consider characteristics of a anode rays. So the first and foremost characteristic of anode rays is the nature of positively charged particle. Okay, what I am specifying? The nature of positively charged particle depends on nature of the gas present in a discharge tube. So earlier what we said for cathode rays, the nature of cathode rays is independent of type of gas taken in a discharge tube. Well, we can understand it with an example. Say consider the discharge tube is filled with the hydrogen gas. Consider the discharge tube is filled with the hydrogen gas. Now when we pass high electric voltage of around what? Say consider 10,000 volt itself. Okay, 10,000 volt at reduced pressure, say 0.01 mm of Hg. Say we have taken hydrogen gas, that is discharge tube is filled with hydrogen gas, and we have passed around 10,000 volt of electricity and at a reduced pressure 0.01 mm of Hg. Say reduced pressure roughly. So what happens at this condition? Gaseous molecules undergo ionization. Okay, when you pass high electric voltage at reduced pressure, what happens? Gaseous molecules undergo ionization. Ionization means what happens? First gaseous molecules, okay, actually what happens? Gaseous molecules are get converted into atoms, means there will be formation of nascent hydrogen. Nascent hydrogen is further converted into 2H plus 2 electrons, means a cation is formed and electron, negatively charged particle, is formed. So H plus is the positively charged particle and electron means it is negatively charged particles. So that gaseous molecules undergo atomization followed by ionization. So overall what I can say, when we pass high electric voltage at reduced pressure, gaseous molecules undergo ionization and produces corresponding cations and liberate what? Negatively charged particles. Now these negatively charged particles, okay, they are going to constitute what? They are going to constitute cathode rays. Negatively charged particles constitutes the cathode rays. Then what about positively charged particle? Positively charged particle constitute the anode rays. You got it? Are you getting? So discharge tube is filled with hydrogen gas. Here what happens? When you pass high electric voltage at reduced pressure, H plus ions and 2 electrons are liberated. H plus ions formed, they constitute the anode rays, and electrons liberated, they constitute the cathode rays. Well, I will consider one more example. Now say the discharge tube is filled with the nitrogen gas. Say for example, discharge tube now filled with the nitrogen gas. We have possibility, right? Discharge tube is filled with any type of gas. Well, now consider, now the discharge tube is filled with the nitrogen gas. Well, what happens when you pass high electric voltage around, say again around 10,000 volt and at reduced pressure, say 0.01 mm of Hg? First what happens? There is undergo atomization, molecules get converted into atoms, and further what happens is undergo ionization. So nitrogen, okay, nitrogen atomic number 7, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p3, which means here what happens is going to have 5 electrons in its outermost configuration. Say 2n3 plus 3 electrons. Consider. Now what happened here? Say n3 plus, a positively charged particle, and 3 electrons are liberated. As like now in this case, these negatively charged particle constitutes the cathode rays and positively charged particles constitutes the anode rays. Similarly, if I consider say helium, if the discharge tube is filled with helium, so when you pass high electric voltage at reduced pressure, what happens? Helium loses 2 electrons and going to form its respective cation, right? So now whatever the 2 electron formed, it constitutes what? It constitutes the cathode rays, and helium 2 plus, which constitutes what? It constitutes the anode rays. Okay, now when we analyze, if you analyze these examples, what we can conclude here? Every time what we are observing, cathode rays made up of same type of particles. Are you getting? Say in first example electrons, second example electron, and third example also electrons. Therefore we said cathode rays always consist of, okay, always consist of electrons only. That's what we said there. The properties of cathode rays are independent of type of gas taken in a discharge tube. Okay, the nature of cathode rays doesn't depend on the type of gas, or I can say nature of gas taken in a discharge tube. Well, now we are looking for anode rays. What we said here, the nature of positively charged particles, which means the nature of anode rays. The nature of anode rays depends on nature of gas present in the discharge tube. So it is very, very important. The nature of a anode rays depends on the type of gas taken in a discharge tube. Now, say in the first example, if discharge tube is filled with hydrogen, H plus ions constitutes the anode rays. If discharge tube is filled with helium, helium 2 plus ions constitutes the anode rays, which means what I can say here, the nature of anode rays depends on the type of gas taken in a discharge tube. You got it? So well. Now, if you consider charge to mass ratio, okay, charge to mass ratio E by M value, the charge to mass ratio of positive rays, or I can say anode rays, is not similar to that of electron. Means if you change the gas, the nature of anode rays changes. Okay, if you use different gases, okay, if you use different gases, what happens? Nature of gas changes. If nature of gas changes, which means that is charge to mass ratio is different for different gas taken in a discharge tube. Therefore, what I am specifying here, the E by M value of a positive rays, or you can say anode rays, is not similar to that of electron. For electron, all the time we are going to get fixed value of charge to mass ratio. But if you consider anode rays, or you can say canal rays, that E by M value also depends on what? The type of gas taken in a discharge tube. Okay, well. Next thing, its value depends on what? Yes, as I said, its value depends on nature of the gas taken in a discharge tube. That is gaseous ions produced actually. Okay, well. Then some of the positively charged particles carry multiple of fundamental units. Okay, some of the positively charged particles may carry multiple of fundamental unit of electrical charge. As I said here, say hydrogen, if you use hydrogen gas, H plus ions will be produced there, is going to carry unit positive charge. If you use helium, there will be formation of, okay, helium 2 plus, right? So now helium is going to carry di-positive charge. Say consider aluminium, there will be formation of aluminium 3 plus, which means is going to carry what? 3 plus 3 charge. Therefore, what I am specifying, some of the positively charged particles carry multiple of fundamental unit of electrical charge. Okay, unit positive charge, di-positive, tri-positive as like. So it will be what? It will be in the form of multiple of fundamental unit of a electrical charge. Okay, well. Now, if you consider the behavior of positive rays, okay, behavior of positive rays, that I can say anode rays, is exactly opposite to that of electrons in a electric and magnetic field. Are you getting here? So if you consider cathode rays, effect of electric field and magnetic field. So cathode rays is nothing but that is electron actually. So cathode rays bend towards what? Cathode rays, they are negatively charged one, therefore they bend towards anode. Yes or no? They bend towards anode in the electric field. And regarding magnetic field, when we apply magnetic field, these cathode rays bend towards south pole of a magnetic pole. South pole of a magnetic field. So these are the characteristics of cathode rays. In turn, I can say electrons. Okay. So in presence of electric field, what happens? Cathode rays bend towards anode of the external electric field. Anode of a external electric field. And further, in presence of magnetic field, what happens? Cathode rays bend towards south pole. Now, what I said here, the behavior of positive rays. Positive rays means what? Anode rays. Okay, anode rays. The behavior of positive rays, or I can say anode rays, is opposite to that of electrons in electric and magnetic field. Opposite andre ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು? Say anode rays. in presence of electric field, anode ray is bent towards a cathode of external electric field. You got it? So opposite, anode, cathode. Regarding magnetic field, south pole, and what is the left? North pole. You got it? So in presence of electric field, anode ray is bent towards cathode, and in presence of magnetic field, anode ray is bent towards north pole of a magnetic field. So it is the characteristic what? It is the characteristics of a positively charged particles. Okay, it is a characteristic of positively charged particles. Okay, well, now that is electron bent towards what? Bent towards positive pole, whereas positive rays bent towards negative pole, that is cathode. Okay, well, the smallest and lightest ion. So during what? During discharge of those gases, or I can say when we pass high electric voltage and at reduced pressure through that gas, there will be formation of a positively charged particle, right? Yes or no? Positively charged particle will be formed. Which one is smallest among all the positively charged particle? It is the proton. So when we use hydrogen gas, when discharge tube is filled with the hydrogen gas, we are going to get a smallest and lightest positive ion. Is the smallest till date. The smallest and lightest positive ion obtained is the proton. When a discharge tube is filled with the hydrogen gas. Okay, well, so actually what we are specifying is, so in the year 1906, J.J. Thomson measured the charge and mass of the particles, charge and mass of those positively charged particles in the discharge tube containing hydrogen. Whatever that positively charged particle formed, that is say H2 hydrogen gas, when we pass high electric voltage and reduced pressure, 2H plus and 2 electrons. The positively J.J. Thomson used to say only positively charged particles. He not specified name for it. But in the year 1911, what is the name of scientist? Rutherford. These positively charged particles are named as a proton. Okay, actually the experimentation was done by J.J. Thomson in the year 1906. He conducted discharge tube experiment and he named them as a protons. Sorry, he said just a positively charged particles, and the name proton was given by Rutherford. Those positively charged particles were named as a proton by Rutherford in the year 1911. And J.J. Thomson measured the mass as well as charge of those positively charged particles. Mass is found to be 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram. Mass of proton is found to be 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram, or I can say 1.672 into 10 raised to 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg, and charge of the proton is found to be 1.6022 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb, as I already mentioned here. So for electron and protons are going to have same charge, equal in magnitude but opposite in sign. The sign will be different just. Okay, well, so J.J. Thomson found the mass of proton 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram, or 10 raised to minus 27 kg, and charge is 1.6022 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Okay, well, then if you consider charge to mass ratio of protons, well, charge to mass ratio means we know the value for charge as well as mass. Charge 1.6022 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb divided by 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram. So if you simplify it, it will be around 9.58 into 10 raised to 4 coulombs per gram, or 9.58 into 10 raised to 7 coulombs per kg. So it is the charge to mass ratio for what? For proton. Please remember. Okay, it is the charge to mass ratio of a proton, that is H plus ion. So whatever the value we got, so the smallest and lightest particle is proton, and if smallest means if size is very less, what about E by M value will be highest. Therefore we say this was the maximum. whatever the value we got, it is the maximum value of E by m observed for any positive particle. Lightest, so it is very important to be remembered. One is lightest, okay, smallest and lightest particle, positively charged particle. What is that? H plus ion is the one thing to be remembered here. And highest E by m value yavudikirutte, it is the H plus ion again. So two things to be remembered for proton. Well, okay, now coming to the discovery of neutron, right, is the one more fundamental particle. Actually, the existence of neutron, the concept of neutron was predicted by J.J. Thomson again. So J.J. Thomson thought that there must be a one neutrally charged particle must exist, as they found discovery of two type of particles at the near the end of that 19th century. They found that there will be existence of two type of particles in a atom. One is a negatively charged particle, it is called electron. Another one is a positively charged particle, that is proton. So two fundamental particles were identified. Thomson thought of there must be one more type of fundamental particle. What is that? Is going to carry no charge. No charge in the sense a neutrally charged particle must exist in an atom, because Thomson thought of when two oppositely charged particles combine, resultant will be a neutral one. So he thought of existence of a neutrally charged particle in an atom. Well, this concept of existence of a neutrally charged particles was further carried by a scientist called James Chadwick, and even he succeeded in identifying a neutrally charged particles. Therefore, we say neutrons were discovered by James Chadwick. The concept of neutrally charged particles was given by whom? Is given by again J.J. Thomson. Okay, J.J. Thomson. But who discovered the neutron? James Chadwick discovered the neutron. Well, what is that experimentation carried? Okay, means these particles were discovered by bombarding a thin sheet of beryllium, or even we can use a aluminium, by alpha particle, which means when fast moving alpha particles are allowed to strike a thin sheet of beryllium or aluminium, what they observed? A neutrally charged particles were observed. Yes, if you consider the reaction equations, say beryllium atomic number 4 and mass number 9, so Be4, and when they are allowed to strike with what? Alpha particle, which is a alpha particle is nothing but it is a doubly ionized helium ion, He2 plus ion. Helium 2 plus ion is called, or you can say helium nucleus going to carry +2 charge, is called a alpha particle. So when thin beryllium sheet is bombarded with the alpha particles, what happens? Resultant will be a carbon-12 isotope. Okay, one of the product is carbon-12 isotope. Along with carbon-12 isotope, what they observed in the detector? A neutrally charged particles were observed. So say thin beryllium sheet, say consider there is alpha source, the help of source alpha ray source, by which alpha rays are emitted, and they are allowed to strike the thin beryllium sheet, and on the other side they kept a detector. What is the purpose of this detector? Detector is going to detect all type of particles. Okay, well, when they observed in the detector, what they notice? Yes, there will be carbon-12 isotopes are detected. Say whatever the atoms coming out of the beryllium sheet, carbon-12 isotopes are detected. Along with this carbon-12 isotope, some neutrally charged particles were also detected. Some new particles were detected, they carry no charge. Okay, is the experimentation. Well, if you consider the equation, say here beryllium when bombarded with alpha particles, say 2 plus 4, 6, right? 6 protons combined, resultant will be a carbon. When you look at the mass number, 9 plus 4, how much? 13, right? 13. Out of 13, 12 mass is present in the form of carbon 12 and 1 mass, part of the mass remains in uncombined state. That is, resultant will be a new type of particle called a neutron, right? So either we use beryllium or aluminum sheet. When it is bombarded with fast moving alpha particles, resultant will be, say in case of beryllium, we are going to get carbon 12 isotope along with a new type of particle called neutron. Similarly, in case of aluminum also, we are going to end up with a new type of particle, phosphorus, and a neutrally charged particle called a neutron. Okay, well, now neutrons were not deflected. Okay, if you consider the characteristics of these neutrons were not deflected by both magnetic and electric fields. The path of neutrons were, okay, neither deflected either by magnetic or electric field, which indicates that they are not interacting, which means they are neutral particles. They are chargeless particles. If they are going to carry any kind of charge, then there must be a deflection in their path. Yes or no? As we observed in case of electrons as well as protons. But when electric or as well as magnetic field is applied to the path of neutrons, their path is not changed, which indicates they are neutral particles, or you can say chargeless particles, and they are going to carry charge. What is the charge? 0 is the charge. Yes or no? Well, then what about mass? Regarding mass considered, mass of neutron is found to be slightly higher than protons, and it is found to be value 1.675. For proton, how much we said? 1.672 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram is the mass of a proton. But in case of neutron, it is the 1.675 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram, or 1.675 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg. So here on comparison, mass of neutron is slightly higher than that of proton. Slightly means it is 0.003 gram will be more that of proton, right? So it is the mass of a neutron. Then what about charge? We said charge is 0, right? Then what about charge to mass ratio? Obviously it is 0 only. You got it? So neutrons, neutrally charged particles, charge is 0, and mass which is slightly higher than proton, and its value is 1.675 into 10 raised to minus 24 gram, or 1.675 into 10 raised to minus 27 kg. And regarding E by M value, it is 0. You got it? Well, so it's regarding discovery of protons and neutrons. Okay, well, so with this I'm going to conclude about this session. Again, in the next session we go for other concept. Thank you. Be safe.